was just going to welcome you to the library and to the Young Adult Writer Series, and welcome Sheryl and Dick, and thank you so much for coming again and being part of our Writers Series. This series started about a year and a half ago, and it was designed to get writers from the high schools into the community and to meet with writers in our community and to hear their works as well as to share your works. And I don't know, how many of you brought things you'd like to share? Any of you like to share tonight? Oh, that would be great. Yeah, that would be great. If you can. And then Sally, did you tell them about the workshop on Saturday?
I haven't announced to this group in particular, so you know, I'd say that.
Yeah, there is going to be a writing workshop. Sally is going to be there with Karen Shalm, and it will be from 1 to
2 to 4.
2 to 4 here in the large meeting room, and you'll have an opportunity to do some poetry writing with two wonderful women poets. And then on Thursday night next week, we'll be meeting again here. Will be an opportunity for you to share the work that you've written at that workshop or work that you have written in the past. It could be you know, a portion of a short story that you've written where you, that you're particularly, you know, is indicative of your writing or what you want to share. It could be a poetry, it could be part of an essay. This is a forum which we hope gives you an opportunity to share what you're thinking and feeling and what you're writing. So I'd really welcome you to share tonight or on Thursday night. So, and oh yeah.
And also your teachers too, if the writers might be performing as well, to open it to them. So
yeah, and the reason we're so excited about having Dick and Sheryl is that it's so wonderful to see the collaboration between a musician and a poet, and so it would be kind of fun if you wanted to get together with some friends to make music together with your poetry, the way Dick and Sheryl have. And to introduce Dick and Sheryl, this is Sheryl Noethe, a poet and a writer and a teacher, living in Missoula from Minnesota. While there she was, you had a grant, right, to write your book? Was that right?
It was a competition. I entered a competition.
Okay. And from that competition, you won, or your book
got my book published.
Okay, which is Descent of
Heaven Over the Lake.
Thank you. And also, she and a group of musicians collaborated on love poems.
Jumbo Love Cycle.
Thank you. Jumbo Love Cycle, which is a collaboration of musicians and Sheryl's poetry. Wonderful, wonderful celebration of Mount Jumbo and Missoula. And Dick, our musician, is well known to Missoula music circles. He's a teacher as well as a video maker, and just recently, last year, won the Missoula
Trust for Artists, I think is what I said.
Yeah, Cultural Trust.
Yeah, an award for his work in Missoula. So I'd like to welcome you and welcome Sheryl and Dick for a lovely evening.
Thank you, Suzette. Okay, we start. The phone ringing in your empty apartment echoes across a red Persian rug. The guitar leans against a chair. The neighbor's cat sleeps in the sun. And the sound returns to me. The emptiness of the resonant image tells me nothing and everything about you. Those cool Manhattan mornings, still blue, sidewalks, we rose before the sun turned the city to an oven and drove your father's garbage truck up the Hudson River where you dropped me off on 94th and Amsterdam, where I slept for an hour or so in my room before taking the train up into the Bronx, where I urged school children to remember their dreams and talk to the animals, while you drove over the bridge to New Jersey to work the route on the big truck with your father, while waiting for the break you needed to take your band on tour with the Fleshtones and be on MTV. Never imagining how the money and fame would turn your heart to booze and cocaine, and you would nearly destroy yourself in your bigger life, while I grew too tired to stay alive in New York and moved to Idaho to teach mountain kids to trust completely in the imagination, while I learned to drive a stick shift, chop wood, bank a fire, and surround myself with dogs and children. And once or twice, I saw you on TV and saw your face on tapes in the stores. But I remember you in your underwear on the Lower East Side, in a room where the former tenant had stenciled skulls and crossbones with ink so indelible it soaked slowly through every layer of paint you put over it. And your pointed beetle boots stomping out the beat so hard the whole stage shook as I shifted my life in 13 cardboard boxes out of Washington Heights and to the west, where I had the good luck to meet a brave fireman and move in. And once we saw you on TV, but I didn't say a word about it. That was about an old boyfriend that was in a band called the Smithereens. And I always try to keep the old boyfriend talk down now that I'm married. So I didn't tell him. The next poem is called The Dead Go to the Movies. The dead go to the movies and sit on the laps of the living and suck at their lips like tomcats to babies. They lick the milk off our mouths for us. They are sighing great musty sighs full of bad air. They place their long noses along our necks and snuggle like puppies into our armpits and groins. They moan. And we are laughing at the movie. That's what we believe in. What we had for lunch. The price of fixing the car. The spirits continue swarming. They vomit diamond rings and snakes. They've rigged the basement with invisible hoists and pulleys. No matter. Einstein says we can't see the future because the light cones are tipped in the wrong direction, too bright. We are the future's dead, dazzled. This poem is called By the Upturned Boat. The old woman fell, broke her hip, could not visit her husband in the nursing home for almost a year. When she finally arrived, his body had grown scales like a fish everywhere. She spent hours brushing them away. Beneath the peel, his skin was new. He woke up, dull-eyed, and could not let go of her hand. He could feel the lapping and the little tug, almost stronger than air. When she left, he began wriggling backwards into the sand, beneath the blankets of the shoreline, where the light bends, where the lost dog sleeps, where the dead child takes his first steps. My next poem is for Ryan Cross, who is the university student that disappeared in the river the winter before last, and they had crews with dynamite breaking the ice looking for him, but it was locked up and they couldn't find his body, and they never found it. And this is about that time. First they said he jumped, then slipped. Now he went swimming after a party, walking the banks of the river with a friend or a teammate. Depends upon who's telling the story. All day now, I felt them blasting the ice on the river. The drowned boy's body is hidden by death. The nature of most of the universe begs discovery. The dogs lift their noses to something on the air. The demeanor of the dark matter is not certain. We only know it does not shine. Now, his father and brother, trapped in the prison house of sight, watch the men dynamite the locked-up river, wanting to find him, afraid to find him, looking for his hands, not wanting to see his hands, his yellow hair, not wanting to see his hair. What about his clothes? Who will take them? A crowd has gathered. Someone is selling soft drinks from a cooler. Which was true. Someone actually hauled a cooler out of their truck and sold sodas while they searched for his body, which was... Poems happen all the time, even ugly ones. Huh. This poem is called Antimatter. Astronomers discover a black hole in space, 600 light years across, spewing a fountain of boiling antimatter. It's like discovering a room in your house you never knew was there, says the muscular newscaster, shining his dark eyes for the camera. But I've dreamt about this room for years, imagining pathways behind the walls. Antimatter, sister to this globed and palpable world, lined up in lyric disorder. More like not finding a room you never knew but spent your life in. Unbeing. Does it hurt? If I get it on my skin, will I disappear? Can it make me laugh? Is it heavier than stars? Will it get me drunk, then spit me out? Will I shimmer like a rotted log? So it eats daylight. Does it bounce and twirl or spill like milk? Is it everything I am not? Does it lurk in a particle garden? Why has it kept itself from us until now? Can I compare it to the loss of love? Could it be the soup of ghosts? Does it run hot and cold? Is it for sale? Should we compare it to death? Should we fear it? Should we fear anything? This poem is called Fjords, which is a natural kind of peninsula in Norway. My people are known for their depression, hypersensitivity to rejection, and acute awareness of pain. Many of us alcoholic. Each day, a sense of dread, life, work, earth, and death. I try to get my bearings. Last night in my sleep, I was clearing tables in Paris. My people drink coffee all day and are quiet in public, suspicious. They would prefer to die on the ice. You must eat more fish, my doctor insists. But I would prefer a purple hat, matching lipstick, a paper bag full of cash, and a ticket to a French city. My ancestors are ice fishermen. Any one of them could have been eaten by a bear. I sit before a hole in the ice, line in hand. Madness, alcoholism, suicide. My people keep secrets at the cost of coherence. Tell them something personal or embarrassing, they look away, nod, say, uh-huh. And that's all. Came home one winter night to Grandpa in the kitchen standing at a slant. He named each object with his fingers. Peaches, potato, hot water, bread, then a can of beer fell from his pants and pulsed on the floor. My people sleep too deeply to awaken. Lie on the couch drinking whiskey from a Pepsi can, escaping religion, escaping poverty. I am a realist. I believe in destiny. The world is futile, futile, fetal, fatal, brutal, total, half finished. This is the loneliness of my brother. Today I saw a woman sitting alone, laughing at what she held in her glass. My brother laughs from behind a closed door, alone in a room. This is the loneliness of my brother. I dreamt we quarreled. I picked him up and beat him against a brick wall until all that was left was a pair of pants. This, too, is the loneliness of my brother. I dreamt he was a boy, drunk, laughing and stumbling against me. I held him in my hands. He became a rabbit of ice, and when I dropped him on the sidewalk, he melted into a pool of water. How can I tell our mother? I see him in the faces of transient men. I see him in the fearful eyes of boys. I see him in my eyelids and muscles. I understand he is almost entirely alone now. Imagine the loneliness of living on in the dream of your sister as a rabbit of ice, a pair of empty pants. I understand almost nothing about him. He keeps secrets. The only time he'll talk about anything personal is when he's drinking. Our last conversation, he asked me if I'd considered suicide. This from a man who gets a pistol in his hand and plays roulette. Passes out on his desk at work with a gun in his grip. Police broke down the door. Everyone thought he was dead. Laid on my parents' bed, shooting holes in the walls and ceiling. This is the loneliness of one who laughs alone. The woman on the street looked like my brother, propped on the street preacher's arm, faded tattoos, red lips, and blonde strangled hair. So pleased with everything, she laughed herself cross-eyed, pulled way inside, and shrunk into a ball. On a shelf, called emotion, stands a frozen figure, vomiting smoke. Something flies into my house. Black feathers drift. I call the dogs inside and go looking. In the silence of the fiddlehead and the forsythia, I look for the body. Broken neck, I'd imagine. Tiny bones, eggshell skull, but nothing is there. My mother told me a bird flying into your house is a harbinger of death. A blackbird, she said, will throw itself at your window. I used to fight for intervention and for detox. Now I only wait. 2. All I know is the summer went by. Suddenly the leaves are red. I ran into a local poet who referred to this suddenness and this deepening as the August singularity, and then he snaked his arm around my waist and grinned. Next night, the meteorologist referred to these brisk evenings as the third week anomaly. Well, I wonder if my tomatoes will succeed at presenting killer fruit, red as a shark's happiness. The fair is over. And that black and white cat is back at the gate. She makes herself flat to slip underneath. 2 big dogs live at my house. She will risk her life for curiosity, or maybe she knows something winged lies hurt in my deep grass. This poem is called The Laws of Nature. I can feel the dissolution of my neighbor's marriage across the street. I thought they were mad at me. Their basement was full of forgotten stuff. It was like a canyon. I could hardly breathe in that house. Then, one day, over the fence, she told me. I had known all along. I didn't tell her. There are strict laws that apply to all of us. For example, the roofers working on the house across the street watch me and I watch my dogs. A pile of dresses and rags tossed down becomes a peripheral child. I think the workmen dislike me because I talk to dogs and work on a laptop. Here in the yard like a millionaire, cordless phone on the bench beside me. Just a small woman if I was born in India, however, set on fire over a dowry or had my nose cut off by a jealous husband in Pakistan. Meanwhile, the governor of Minnesota spoke at a convention. My mother was waitressing that night. She told me that he said, "We have turned the tide of public opinion against smoking. Now we must stop the battering of women." She was glad it was a smoke-free room she was working. I can sit in my yard with the spaniels and use a laptop and wonder about the law of diminishing returns. Shouldn't we expect as many surprises and miracles as we have seen already? My friend saw the first automobile and TV set, penicillin, the atom, test tube baby, cloned sheep, man on the moon. Soon we will take these miracles in stride, then curse them for their slowness. Assume someday the sun powers everything. Imagine an algae that sucks up oil spills. Imagine the world in the eye of a goose while I am here, queen of the yard, imagining a bee has gotten entangled in my hair. It is the focus of my being. The roofers climb down and drive home. The bee is incensed. My phone rings and the dog across the street blinks at me in surprise. I worry about my mother going to park her car downtown in an underground ramp. First parking structure built here in my town, immediately a woman is raped in it. Guy came to the house. I, like an idiot, opened the door. He grabbed my forearms and began pushing me toward the bedroom. Those two lazy dogs sprung from nowhere, didn't make a sound, made for his throat, two airborne missiles of fur. The guy ran off down the street. I called the police and tried not to imagine. Now my friend who saw the first car is 94 and her bones are breaking. Her kids put her in a nice nursing home. Nice, yes, it's clean. Nice, it's peaceful, there's no pee smell. But she's alone in a bland room. She says, "This is not my ceiling." People who work there make minimum wage. How can I get them to love her? They put her on Zoloft. She weighs 80 pounds, has only ever taken aspirin. Suddenly, she's groggy all the time, sleeping away with her mouth gaping like all the others. A line of skeletons, tied into wheelchairs, stoned into passive pre-death. Now she's losing her grip. Disassociating, talking with the dead, looking over our heads and nodding. After all she's been in the world, to this? My mother and her sister Donna lived on both sides of my friend, did her shopping and wrote her checks. They went in on a microwave at Christmas so she could heat the meals they dropped off. Before her eyes got bad, she was a seamstress who sewed from French Vogue patterns, and when she made me a skirt, she'd say, "Now wear heels and feature your legs." And for one suit she made, she asked me to wear a bra to do her darts justice. "But don't worry about a girdle, dear," she said, patting me up and down all over. Now she can't even find her mouth with a spoon. A different guy indifferently dresses her every morning. When I call, they say, "She's not available, but they'll take a message." Do they tell her I love her every time? She doesn't remember anyone saying that. Governor Arne Carlson is going to try to get men to stop battering women. I am going to try to get my friend out of the nursing home where she is held captive. The roofers are going to try to finish today and go home. The future will surprise us in ways we can't imagine, and my neighbors will probably get a divorce. Do you have any questions or remarks or poems that you would like to come up and try with Dick?
I'll be back in a minute. I'm kind of gone right now.
Just a remark, you guys are really good.
Oh, thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
What is it about it that's so cool?
Um,
Can you name a few specific?
about the talking drums and that time when you just continue
we had talked about it, that, that it was a nice way to have a segue. It's something that I think about when she brings poems and we put them together. I think about ways to play through a couple of them and to have a place where it stops and to have a couple that maybe run into each other. And so I just found, as we talked about, what's the poem about your brother?
The loneliness of my brother.
The loneliness of my brother. Content-wise, kind of has some similarities to me in the feeling of fjords. And so I wanted to stay with that drum. And I had been just commenting in fjords, in between stanzas, and not really so much in between lines. It's almost like not really enough to just have, and then to have another stanza come by. But it being so sparse, that was where I had left it. And there's a few words at the end of fatal, futile, where there's a comment between each one, and a rhythm picks up. And I just started with the low note and bent it all the way up, and suddenly had the slow beat. And so I just said, why don't you just recite the next poem? And so she just did with this kind of sickening.
But tonight I was listening to him and I forgot to do the next poem. And then he finally said, should we do this? And that's happened before. He
Yeah.
said, I get hooked in the music and then I forget where we are and what we're doing.
Yeah. Oh, library. Oh. Oh. Poem. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Beats are memorizing, though.
Huh?
Your beats are memorizing.
It is. It is.
Thanks. There's something. It was probably the one thing that drew me to rhythm at a really early age. Is its calming, meditative quality. My father's a Marine Corps captain. I grew up in a pretty violent home, and love him dearly and everything. It's all in the past. But as a kid, I just found staring at a crick really mesmerizing, watching it playing going across the sky, and just being able to repeat anything, and just repeat it without really changing it, and keeping the time steady in relationship to my heartbeat or to my breathing or something. It just seems to make time stop. And it makes, and everything that goes with it kind of stops. The pain of my life kind of stops. And there's, in that place, there's this rebalancing that seems to happen. It's like my whole body gets a chance to kind of even out or something. It's become like a meditation. I completely take it for granted that I have the kind of, a lot of musicians do, have an inner combination of pulsation and repetition that keeps them or helps them be in a certain place. A lot of visual artists and writers also have the same thing, probably within their own body, this place of meditation, where they feel their own body pulses and feel fluids moving through their body, having blood, you can feel blood moving through your body. It's all something that's kind of subconscious, but something that those of us that write or paint and do these meditative things for long periods of time is something that we just have. All of us have it. Some of us just latch on to it quicker than others and actually use it throughout our lives. It's just something I've just never let go of. And I've kept turning it into other things.
One of the things I think is great about free verse and contemporary poetry is that you don't have to write according to the patterns that have gone before, you know, various pentameters and rhyme and schemes. And so it seems like free verse would be something that was just like wildly shooting forth, but your breathing and your heartbeat and your body actually have a rhythm that I think that we adhere to whether we know or not. And so sometimes I think Dick and I must have similar metabolisms, so that I'm breathing in my poem and he's breathing in his drum, and they don't bother each other. They kind of slip in and out. And it's not like he's not accompanying me. It's like they're two different things.
The double Dutch jump roping is really this wonderful image that Sheryl brings up. Of, if you try to watch those two jump ropes and figure it out, you're never going to make it. You got to like kind of cross your eyes and look through the pavement, through the two ropes, and jump in there and feel it. And once you're in there and it's happening, you're not really counting or watching the ropes come back around. It's just happening, and you're a part of it. We kind of become a part of it. In order to be with this other element, we have to kind of become a part of it. And there's this whole other reflection that we've got kind of ourselves, and our upper brain being able to reflect. It kind of turns off. There's another kind of body-mind, I think, that kind of takes over. It's kind of like how you can run through the woods without running into a tree and get on a bike without falling off. Your upper brain can't watch that process fast enough. It's a body-mind, the lower brain body-mind thing that kind of kicks in with that. And it's amazing I can even talk after doing some of this, actually. There are times when I just looked up, the amount of content in some of Sheryl's poems is really intense for me. A lot of feeling, a lot of imagery that comes up with the way she writes things and some of the words that she uses. And as I'm playing a simple beat, those things go right through me, or I become parts of them sometimes. And so the beat kind of carries me through there, but as we were done with that last one, I kind of looked up. It really was, oh man, I'm at the library. I can go that far away that quickly.
Did you find a poem you'd like to try?
Strong.
I don't have them printed, so.
That's okay.
I'm Carly Taylor, and I go to Hellgate High School.
Can you talk about the nature of the poem a little bit, or you just want to wing it?
I don't have a nature for this poem. This poem is about darkness. I don't know. It's about ambiguity, being ambiguous. Right now I'm having a hard time with the difference between a spirit and a soul, and I don't know if you've heard about that, but there's this, like, the spirit is this high, lofty creature, and the soul is what's going in the ground. You know, you can hear someone and that you can say they have a soulful voice, or this food is good for the soul, and that's different than a spirit. And I'm trying to figure out where my soul is, or what's going on. So I kind of wrote this because of that.
You go first.
All right. Inside a gigantic cave, a whisper might dare to explode and make a sniffle against the wall. Gray, dark, ambiguous, iridescent.
Wow. So it goes by pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I just listened to the first phrase that she had and tried to find something I had sitting in front of me that either, the two things that come to mind are what goes with it and what clashes with it. Well, one of those things. It goes by quicker than I can really think about it. And I did glance at her piece of paper and realized that there were words written right after another. And as I realized as the first sentence went by, I realized she was almost halfway done. Okay. So one of the things I talk about is leaving space in between words or in between phrases. So you can give somebody some content, and as they sit and think about it for a second, there are some sounds. And then there's another line again.
You want me to do it again?
Maybe
We'll
try
try
it.
again with
That's what I was gonna-
With pauses in between.
With
it.
pauses
Okay.
in between.
Okay.
And then I was going to ask you to
Between
do
the
it
lines.
again, and I'll play a beat.
Okay.
And see how you react to it, and see what it's like that's different for you guys as well. Okay? Try that one again.
Okay. Inside a gigantic cave, a whisper might dare to explode and make a sniffle against the wall. Gray, dark, ambiguous, iridescent.
Wow. How different is, what's different about that when there's more time that goes by? I can get it some sounds, of course. I heard more words that time than I did the first time.
I saw more images.
Yeah, you're able to have words turn in your head. There's more time for you to have an image appear with a word or a phrase. So that's something that I think that, working in the schools with, at C.S. Porter last year with some middle school people, it was this amazing experience of 4 of them in a row, reading the poem really quick, and then before there could be applause, which there wasn't, they got up and tried to walk to their seat and said, no, come back for a second. Huh? Listen to the beat that I'm going to play. Wait for it to go around once. And somebody asked, well, what do you mean go around once? And I played them this beat of... wait for it to come around once, and say one line, then listen to where the beat is, and wait for it to come around again, and start your next line. And they did. And immediately, their whole, it shifted from the very first word they said so much, it's like a completely different poem. And they would wait. And you want to just do another one?
Sure.
And do what you said. Let him do it.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this one is about a tree. It's about the tree dying and separating, and it's about a tree being cut down and shipped off to places. And I wrote it at the workshop. That was Monday. Tree.
Let me get the
Sorry.
this beat started first.
Go ahead.
It's the same one that I had used for Sheryl, actually.
Okay. Tree spiraling up above me, older, wiser, quiet, set to whistle as wind walks or paces by. Tree shivers when it feels the hot blade separating the many years like pennies. Take this part to Omaha to make a baby carriage. Take that part to Saskatchewan to make toothpicks. The tree screams when it hears its name in the chainsaw's song.
So I had never heard it before. Yeah. So how do we end up on the same word at the end of the beat? You know, I don't know how it works. It just somehow it does, because she hears the beat, and I begin to hear how she's speaking. By the time she gets to the end, I think intuitively a lot of the time we just end up there together. So sometimes the spaces where I leave in the middle of the poem don't have to do with the beat, they have to do with the words. And sometimes we end up right at the end of a phrase together, and we start together. It's a strange feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
The first time Sheryl and I ever did this together, we were recording at the studio at KUFM, and we were all going through this. We all had to like stand up and walk around the room and cry a little bit. It's a pretty amazing experience. So, if any of you haven't heard that CD, it's a really interesting way to hear an expansion of what Sheryl and I do. There's 5 other musicians that we work with there who use their voices: flute, harp, bassoon, soprano saxophone, violin, and guitar. And it's a really neat combination of sounds answering poetry, actual music with poetry on top of it, and about half the CD is, you can tell people don't know what's going to happen next. And I was the only one after the first session that we had that knew we could have a recording out of it. We were recording at the time, it was a digital recording, and I heard the sound of it back after the first session that we'd had. And the idea was to put a radio show together. And when I realized how much stuff we were able to go through, I knew that we were going to be able to do something with this. And a couple of the people we were working with had the ability to pull that off. And so at the end of all of these sessions, the radio show was done, and we had a little post-production meeting, and I had everybody sit down and listen to the DAT tape that we had, the digital tape we had. And everybody was just amazed at how wonderful it sounded. We hadn't actually, as a group, sat down and focused and listened to it. And it's amazing to hear these spaces of silence. You can hear people going, God, what am I going to do? Who's going to play next? You know, there's this amazing tension. And because we had a really nice recording studio, there's just complete silence. And a couple of times you can hear the air moving through Sheryl's voice, and you can hear somebody's foot move across the room.
And the pages wiggled.
You can hear paper moving sometimes. At one point, we had to remove a fly from the studio because Chris was going, I can hear that thing buzzing in the background. It's really bothering me. So Matthew caught the fly and took him outside.
And that CD's here at the library. People can rent it.
It is.
Check it out.
Jumbo Love Cycle is here at the library. You guys are a great audience. Another thing I talk about when I work in schools is the difference between having a room that's quiet and a room that is quiet and has focus. The people can be really quiet, and you can practically hear a pin drop, and if half the people are looking at a poster on the wall, there's not that focus in the room. And having somebody speak, and having them speak things that are often so personal, it really helps to have that focus. It's something that in schools, kids really, younger people, middle school people really have that struggle of like, well, I'm being quiet, but the focus is, on the note they just got from their friend. They may not be making any noise, but there's no focus. And it's really great to have focus and to feel people drawn to it. Thank you.
Well, hello, and welcome all to the Young Adult Writers series, the third in our fall series, which is devoted to your writing. And we're really thrilled tonight to have you here. This time I would like to thank several people who have really made this whole thing possible. And that is the Friends of the Library, who are sponsoring the event and allowing us to fund this event. The Friends of the Library is a group of people who really believe in the library and work to raise monies for programs such as this, or books maybe, or periodicals, or things that the library doesn't have money for in their budget. So really would like to thank the Friends of the Library for their support. And also, it wouldn't be possible without such wonderful people as Karen Shalm and Sally Koba, who have given their time and talents to sharing with you their poetry as an inspiration to you, but also in their talent and teaching and bringing out that voice in you and helping you to bring that voice out so we can hear it. And so I'd really like to thank you too. And thanks, Sally, for bringing treats tonight. That's great. And Gwen Hoppy, thank you very much for being here tonight and helping me to set up the camera and edit this so that it can go on to MCAT. And so this program will be broadcast over MCAT. It will also be housed in the library so that you can check it out and look at it again or share it with your friends. So I really would like to thank you all for coming tonight and sharing your work. And so if Sally and Karen want to say anything, come on up.
Well, thanks, Suzette, and thanks to the Friends of the Library. This is the book that we created in the workshop that we did on Saturday. It's called Dollops of Writing, Taking Common Ground. It was a title that was generated from everyone's input. What we did was that we each wrote words and then passed them around and wrote common poems using the same words and We did some art texts, which when it's on the library shelves you can see. And we did some poems where we invent verbs and all kinds of interesting language-oriented poems. It's been a pretty exciting young adults series. We had Sheryl Noethe and Dick Ostheimer last week. We had the workshop on Saturday, and then it's your reading today. And these programs happen about twice a year, one in the fall and one in the spring, and they're free. So be looking for it next spring. We hope we can do it again. So let's let Sally introduce the people we have bios for, and I can't wait to hear you all read.
Yeah, I don't know all of you, so I'm just going to introduce the people that I do know, which is only 3 of you, I think, who are reading. And if you could just do a brief introduction of yourself when you come up here to read, that'd be great. If you just said, like, your age and the school that you go to, that'd be really nice. And then we do have more detailed bios of other people. And the first person is going to read, she's going to read a story. I don't know how many, most people probably have poems, so it should be really interesting to hear a short story by Sarah Charbonneau. Sarah Charbonneau lives and goes to school in Missoula, Montana. She enjoys the outdoors and her friends. She lives with her dog, Shadow, and is working on her next book. Help me welcome Sarah.
Hi, my name's Sarah, and I'm 16-year-old, and I go to Big Sky High School. The short story, well, sort of, but it's a vampire piece. I read a lot of Anne Rice books, and I was interested in her character Lestat, so I kind of wrote something based on that. Okay. I am Mikhail. I am immortal. I know that I can't die. Others have tried to kill me. Being over 3,000 years old, I look like a 29-year-old man with wild, shoulder-length hair and dark brown and rich brown eyes, an irresistible smile, and a well-proportioned 6-foot frame, which was superb when I was a mortal man. It's not bad now. My skin is tan brown, since I'm too powerful for the sun to destroy me anymore. It only burns my skin bronze. But enough said. Let's hit the road, as they say. Los Angeles, city of angels, and devils like me. I was looking for a hotel to stay in for the day, for dawn was only an hour away, and I could just barely see the first hint of light with my sensitive eyes. Just as I was stepping into a prospective lair for the day, someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around, surprised that someone would come up to me. I tried to stay inconspicuous. Today I was wearing a black leather stadium jacket over a white t-shirt, slightly ragged, and a pair of faded denim jeans. It was a young woman, about 25 years old. She was dressed in old clothes, threadbare and patched knees. She stepped back a pace, looking startled when she saw my face. It was my eyes. They are so intense, so unreal, that unless I have a dark pair of sunglasses, they tend to frighten people. Her thoughts came unbidden to my brain without me actually scanning her. It's a natural talent. Her name was Lindsay, and she was looking for a place to stay, but she had no money. I'm sorry to bother you, sir. I thought you were someone else. She started to walk away. I glanced at the approaching sun, but I didn't have to worry yet. Wait, miss, my friend could not make it here today, and there is a reservation for him. You may stay here for a while if you like, I said in my native accent, which was no longer heard anymore, I'm sad to say. I think I scared her further when I said what was on her mind, but I smiled encouragingly and took hold of her hand. I led Lindsay inside the hotel to the reception table, where a young man was standing by the computer. I have 2 reservations, I said, and gave the man 2 names I plucked from the air. But before he could tell me that these names didn't exist in his file, the computer screen went blank, and a small wisp of smoke trailed out from the hard drive. The man at the desk apologized for the malfunction that I created with a little telepathic hammer to the mainframe. Then, with my powers of persuasion, I convinced the man that I indeed had 2 reservations. He gave me 2 sets of keys for the rooms. Then he rushed to tell the manager of the computer's demise. Sir, I can't pay you back for this. Who are you? She asked these questions as we went to our rooms. They were on the same level, only a few rooms apart from each other. I had only a minute or two before I had to worry about the sun, but I answered some of her questions as I stepped in my suite. My name is Mikhail, but call me Mick. Don't worry about paying me back. Here, take this and get something to eat, and get some new things to wear, okay? I gave her a wad of bills. Now, I really must go. I've been traveling all night and must get some sleep. Shall I see you again? I don't know, Mick, she said, testing out my name on her tongue. Thank you so much, and she went to her room. As soon as I closed the door, I slammed the door and raced to the one window, closing the drapes so the sun wouldn't peer through. But the sun was already up. My mind went black, and I crashed to the floor. Twilight the next morning for me. I woke to find myself sprawled on the floor next to the bed. Obviously, I didn't quite make it before the sun. I stepped out my door and I took the elevator to the lobby. There, sitting on one of the luxurious couches, was Lindsay. When she saw me, she smiled and rose to her feet. She had been out shopping for clothes, nothing lavish, a pair of nice denim jeans, a black t-shirt with a small store logo on the back, and a pair of sturdy hiking boots. She realized I was looking her over and blushed slightly and said, I'm sorry, but I needed some new clothes. I hope you don't mind, Mick. I smiled and shook my head, making my near black mane fly around my face. No, Lindsay, I don't care. You look great. Have you eaten yet? No, have you? I hadn't, but then I would have to tell her some excuse why I couldn't eat mortal food. Yes, I have, but we can stop and get you something to eat. She wrapped her arms around me, amazing me at the speed mortals fall in love. I smiled. If only she knew what I was. But I went along with her and put my bronzed arm around her slender waist, and we walked along the sidewalks of L.A. Lindsay asked me questions about myself. What do I do for a living? Do I have a girlfriend? Etc., etc. I answered the best I could, smoothly lying when a mortal answer couldn't be used. It was close to midnight, I think, when Lindsay told me she was getting tired. She had a small apartment in the East Side. I don't want to go back to the hotel and make you spend more on me. You've done enough for me, Mick. Thank you. She kissed me on my cheek and started to walk away. I turned to leave, to hunt, for I was starving of bloodthirst. I walked slowly, hands in my pockets like mortals, face pointed to the ground, watching my feet. My head snapped up, hearing Lindsay's unspoken cry for help. A finger snap of a moment later, I heard a scream coming from the direction where Lindsay walked off by herself. Damn it, I shouldn't have left her alone. I ran with preternatural speed to where the scream began and found 3 derelicts surrounding Lindsay, looking for a good time by hurting her. I roared like an animal, furious, my amplified voice deafening to my ears, surely ear-splitting to the mortals in front of me. I grabbed the nearest mortal by the neck and hurled him to the alley wall, splitting his skull open on the brick wall. But I had already broken his neck with my grasp before I flung him. His blood spilling on the filthy floor drove me to bloodlust. I pulled my lips back, revealing 2 razor-sharp fangs and a gruesome smile. I moved with lightning speed to catch the next mortal in my arms. I embraced him, holding his head in my left hand, and sank my teeth into the soft flesh of his neck. The last mortal wheeled around and fled. I grinned like a wolf, dropped my victim, and caught the last one so very easily. Did you think you were the only predators in this wretched city? I came here for the likes of you, I said through blood-stained lips, my mouth still full of the taste of blood and my eyes gleaming with almost maniacal glee. Oh God, help me, please, the mortal pleaded. I could smell his fear, his blood. I could hear the pounding of the blood in his body, waiting for me, urging me to drink. I could not decline the invitation. You're wasting your breath, mortal. No one's up there listening. It was the last thing he heard as I sank my fangs into him. Ah, the blood, the precious blood, is like physical mortal love, a drug high, an adrenaline rush. The colors, the thoughts of my victim washing over me. But it is over so quickly. Lindsay was cowering in a corner, her knees tucked under her chin and her arms wrapped around them. Her eyes were wide with terror and she was trembling. I walked slowly toward her and knelt down beside her. She didn't try to avoid me. She turned her head and looked at me. You're really a vampire, aren't you? Deadpan, no emotion in her voice. It wasn't a question, more like an acknowledgement. I nodded, afraid to show her my bloody teeth. I knew you were something different. It was your eyes, they were so strange. I licked the blood from my lips and teeth before speaking. Lindsay, I'm so sorry. I reached for her to hold her tight. I gathered her in my arms and slowly rocked her back and forth. At first, Lindsay was tense and afraid to touch me, knowing that I was damned, a monster. But she relaxed after a time. I rose to my feet, bringing Lindsay with me. Hold tight, ma chérie. I'm taking you home. I concentrated and felt Lindsay and myself rise into the air. Lindsay's eyes went wide with fear and surprise. She gasped and clutched me tightly. Finding her a small apartment was a simple thing. I scanned Lindsay's mind for the location. We touched down softly on the rooftop within the hour. Her hair was disheveled, as was mine, I'm sure. She still clung to me, but she turned her head to face my own. That was incredible, Mick, she breathed, then leaned forward and kissed me. Her tongue parted my lips and caressed my fangs. She hesitated slightly, then cut her tongue on one of my fangs. Blood trickled down my throat as her hands netted through my hair and ran along my spine. Why did you do that? I didn't want to harm you, I said as we pulled away. I wanted to give you something of mine, but I have nothing. So I gave you the only thing you yourself could desire, my dark angel. Hate me, fear me because I'm a vampire. But I love, I care, albeit I do kill and hunt, and only those who deserve it. I have been this way for thousands of years, immortal. I am Mikhail, and nothing can be done to change that.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. The next reader is Jessica Conley. Oh, okay. Save her for last. Okay, Bridget Cassidy. Oh, okay. Oh, and did you sign, are you Katie? Okay, Katie Moa.
Okay. Can you guys hear me fine without the microphone? Okay. My name is Katie Moore, and I'm a senior at Big Sky. And just to let you all know, that's not my baby. That's my baby sister, so I'm just babysitting her. And, well, I wrote this poem because there was this one incident when I went to the fair in Los Angeles, and I was down there this summer visiting my sister. And we had went to the Orange County Fair, and you guys know when you ride the same ride over and over, you know, that kind of thing happens. And, well, this is what happened to me when I rode this one particular ride, and it is called At the Fair I. Ground is my only comfort as my sweat-dripping feet lugs away from the commotion of the sizzler. The whirring echoes in ear-splitting clamor to my ears. I start to hyperventilate uncontrollably. Oh, Savior, I am deprived from nourishing air. A brew of what I consumed. What was it? The luscious hot dog, the mouth-watering caramel apples, or the Mexican nachos that were so, oh, so spicy? Wiggling, rustling, its tedious way to the conniving shaft. Fresh, bubbly molecules splattered vastly on the once comforting ground. A massive, reeking puddle saturated with froth and slush of what my delicious lunch had come to. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. The next reader is Carly Taylor. Carly is feeling focused right now. She is irritated by the overuse of the words love, soul, and beautiful.
I'm Carly. I'm a junior at Hellgate, and I have 3 poems. One of them is kind of long, and it's new, so it's a young poem. And it's called On a Saturday Afternoon. This is it, Michael. I will compose an orchestrated prose of poetry and figure you out. I tried to figure out your eyes by staring into them. I tried to learn your voice by closing my eyes and listening. I tried to learn your touch by closing my ears and feeling you until my fingers cried. I wrote this song a very long time ago. I looked up. I saw light, bright, blue, blinking, golden, gold. Go away. I don't want to look up anymore. I don't need another day, death. Let it come now. The breakup, dumping, dumped. I let go because I knew you didn't care. Sing another song, attractive Mike. I tasted something when I played hooky with my mind. I ditched it and sat next to you on a hard tiled floor. I learned about tasting, but I never liked you in my mouth. I looked down. I saw blood, bloody, red, orangey, brown, wet, warm, and it scared me. Scared, scared, scary. I heard this song when my hands were touching you, frightened. You were frightened. Then suddenly your fear washed away, and you were ready, but I wasn't ready. It hurt me. I didn't want it. It hurt me. It hurt. Hurt me. Hurt. You'll never understand as you sing a conversation with Andy Lester. Then you stop talking. You glance up, and those eyes that I know too well, they come inside me again. You sing my name, and you touch me, and I bleed. Blue, gold, red, orange, brown, you. Okay, and I think I'll do this one. This is called I Know. Times like these, I just sit here waiting. I just sit here waiting for nothing in particular. I could flatter you and tell you I was waiting for you, but then you would think you knew me and try to hurt me again. You love to know me, so you can find my weakness and use it against me. I know. I know because I saw you staring at another girl as if she was me. And I know you can't pretend you don't love me because you do. And that's why it hurts you when you hurt me. I know. Okay, this is my last one. It's called The Consequence of Loving Me. He thought he knew me, so he touched my throat, expecting a kiss. But I whisked him away like an apple off a tree. The consequence of loving me. He thought I cared, so he shared his deepest creepy secret. In my head it mushroomed into a balloon, and then it popped. The secret was set free. The consequence of loving me. He thought he could change my bitchy-witchy ways. He thought I'd listen to him whisper when he said I was a blister, but instead I sang him off with my snitchy melody. The consequence of loving me. My lesson to you, if you think I'm sweet and you want to meet me, don't. Because I stab backs and I never relax until the climax where I hit you tittering in shock. The happiness you wish will never really be the consequence of loving me.
Thanks, Carly. The next reader is Jessie Childress. Jessie Childress is someone, a girl, who lives her life now, waiting to get on with her other life. Not to say she doesn't like her life here, but she knows what she wants to do. She knows where she wants to go, and she's ready to leave. She's waiting to find the people, the place she's looking for. And as she gets closer, the tangibility is tempting.
Okay, I'm Jessie, and I'm a sophomore at Hellgate. Okay, first I'll read this poem. It doesn't have a title, and I wrote this the first week of school this year, and it's about school, and school. Okay, what it does to me, I guess. The day shatters into my world like breaking glass. It splinters and flies into my eyes, blinding me. Now I can only see the walls that hold me in. It falls into my ears, deafening me. Now I only hear what I'm supposed to. It breaks into my mouth, silencing me. I can no longer say what I believe, for there isn't any time. I can no longer argue against the offensive, for my words are censored before they have any impact. I'm locked into this conformist world where I've tried to exist for 10 years of my life. This foreign world where I'm expected to nurture my mind, where I'm kept every day from experiencing what I need to live. You try and tell me I should get used to this, but I know in the truest parts of me I don't belong here. Every day I bow down to you, subvert my entire being, and you wonder why I am the way I am. If I didn't have my small rebellions, my short rages, my caustic comments, I'd lose myself, and all I'd have is you. You'd say I brought it upon myself, and I'd say it was my only choice. You'd say I was troubled, and I'd say I finally figured out the only way to get out of here. You'd say I needed help, and I'd say what I needed was a little less of your so-called help, your so-called enrichment, your falsely named education. The prison you deny to exist, my given number like an inmate, my scheduled being. We'd begin to argue, and you'd start insisting again that I call you Mr., Master, God. But this time I'm not backing down, and I don't care about your institution or your reputation. You've stolen all you can from me. The rest I'm keeping, and with it I'll build my bombs, plan my rebellions, murder your injustices. Ask me why, and I'll give you all my memories. Try and reason, and I'll whip out the cool mask I've learned so well. Stay away from me. Don't touch me. My fury is contagious. And the second one is called Road to Freedom, and in this writing group I'm in, we had a project to write a poem with words where we changed words that are normally nouns to verbs, like cheetah is a noun to a verb. So it's a poem full of that. Road to Freedom. If I told you I had cheated down the street in a near state of California, would you sign the release form? If I kittened around you like a song, slippered up to your pedestal, would you green velvet me and cry rabbit fur into satin Kleenex? No, you broken record into my atmosphere. I log cabin a wall around me to block you out, but you mice in through the holes and Marilyn Monroe across the floor. Your eyes candle now, and you're only a spirit, a ghost. I almost klutz over you in the hallway on my yellow brick road to freedom.
Next reader is Cindy Blakesley.
Hi, I'm Cindy. I'm 17. I go to Big Sky High School. And my poem is about a place. Trembling at the sight of your illuminating home, I waltz into fading pinks and greens. I breathe in sweet potpourri, and my mind vibrates with sharp memories of making love and making laughter. Silence echoes from your room, and I am mercilessly drawn there. The smell of bike grease and fresh cologne vanish into my lungs, and I am consumed with desire and unwanted longing. I slide my hand over wrinkles in black sheets where you dream, perhaps casting a spell of scorched lovers burning to dust that is forever lost in the autumn wind. Thanks.
Thank you, Cindy. Is Jessica Conley here now? Are your friends here yet? Do you know? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, does anyone else want to read? Did anyone bring anything along? Great. And what's your name?
I'm Jenna Schwanke.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Jenna Schwanke, and I'm 16, and I'm a junior at Big Sky. And this poem was an assignment in my creative writing class, and I don't like doing assigned poetry, but this one turned out okay, so I kind of like this one. So it's about the autumn. It's called Fall Away. Wind's soft, gentle fingers tickle branches. Orange-red, dependent offspring of mother laughing tree clutch to her thick, cumbersome shoulders and her fragile, diminutive wrists. Sick weaklings give up their virtually non-existent grip. As siblings cry and chatter, watch them fall, swirling and whirling, slowly, silently down. Each brother, each sister die from lack of nourishment, fall away, softly touch universe's pregnant tummy. Breeze picks up, takes deceased away, makes them forgotten. Survivors await wind and breeze's departure, due east. Now slumbering children, sleep little ones, sleep. Harm has not hurt you. Doze securely now, stay close by mother laughing tree on the pregnant belly of universe.
My name's Jessie Burtek. I'm a senior at Big Sky. And the first one, it's called River Rodeo. The river races by like a calf when the gate is opened, trying to outrun the cowboy, rope, and horse. Leaves on the trees flicker with the wind like sequins on the girl's shirt as she and her horse turn the third barrel and race down the home stretch. The riverbed is the bull, unpredictable, changing, trying to trick the rider to buck him off. Yet the rider hangs on, trying to fulfill his goal, the 8-second ride. And my next one is Memories, and I'm a counselor at a 4-H summer camp, and every year we have a tradition on the last night where we each cabin makes a little boat out of a piece of pine bark and then decorates it with leaves and flowers and puts a candle in the center of it. It's a tradition, and this last summer is really memorable for most of us because it was our last year. Memories. Tonight, the moon glistens among the stars. Pine trees frame the lake. All the day's colors gather beneath the setting sun for their final performance. A thunderstorm saturates the air as loons call to their missing young. The crisp air pierces our bare arms like needles. A cool summer's eve, just like tonight. Boats made of pine bark float our memories across the lake.
This is a really cool poem that I ran into. There's this creative writing teacher named Mr. Lenahan at Hellgate, and he wanted me to type this up, and I fell in love with it. It's a poem by Anna Hutchison, and it's called As a Woman. I possess a body with breasts and curved hips. This is a beautiful thing. But when some man makes a lewd comment about my breasts and what he bets I can do in bed, it makes me want to cut my breasts off, to shrink into a particle that is too small to see. It makes me want to hurt that man as he has hurt me. So I hunch my shoulders, cross my arms over my chest, and duck my head. And as I walk away, I think that maybe this body that I possess is not such a beautiful thing after all.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming, and I hope that you come in the spring when we do the same thing again. We're going to have another reading, and Karen and I will be also doing another workshop and making a book for the public library. And I hope you also check out the book that we made this time, because it ended up being really good. So anyways, thank you, and there's cookies over there if you want some, and that's it.
Thanks.
It's okay? Good. I think the fundraiser